All right, let's just jump right in. You know those characters in video games? The ones that just stand there, repeating the same line over and over? For decades, they've been, let's be honest, a bit robotic. But that's all changing. A huge revolution is happening right now, thanks to some seriously advanced AI. We're talking about turning these NPCs, or non-player characters, from predictable puppets into dynamic beings who might actually be able to think.
And look, the core problem has always been the same, right? This quote from a 2016 paper really hits the nail on the head. It says that traditional NPCs just have this super limited range of behaviors. And as players, we're smart. We figure them out so fast. You learn their patrol routes, their scripted lines, and pretty soon you know exactly how to game their simple logic. And when that happens, poof, the magic is gone. The world just doesn't feel alive anymore.
So to really get why this new AI is such a massive deal, we kind of need to look back first. Let's peel back the curtain on the old world of NPCs. What exactly was going on under the hood that made them feel like, well, cardboard cutouts? Okay, check this out. The difference between the old way and the new way is it's just night and day. On one side, you have the traditional NPCs we all know. Scripted dialogue, predictable paths, zero memory. But on the other side, that's where it gets exciting. We're talking about modern AI NPCs that can come up with their own dialogue, adapt their behavior on the fly, and, this is the big one, actually remember what you've said and done. For decades, pretty much every NPC was powered by something called a finite state machine, or FSM. Now, that sounds complicated, but it's not. Just think of it like a super simple set of rules. An NPC is in one state, like patrolling, and if it sees you, the player, a rule kicks in and it switches to the attacking state. It's basically a very rigid, if this, then that system. That's it.
And you can see it right here in this diagram. This is how rigid that old logic really was. A character is completely locked into these predefined paths. They can go from state 1 to state 2 and maybe back again, but that's about it. There's just no room for nuance, no ability to learn, and definitely no surprise. It's the reason why, after a while, they all start to feel so darn repetitive.
All right, enough about the old ways. Let's talk about the revolution. Let's get into how this new tech is completely changing the game, taking us from that simple, rigid logic to something that, well, it starts to look a lot more like a mind.
Really, the best way to wrap your head around this is to think of it as a brain upgrade for these game characters. Seriously. We're not just giving them a longer list of if-then rules. No, developers are building them a whole cognitive architecture. It's basically a framework that lets them process the world around them in a way that's just way, way more sophisticated. And this so-called brain isn't just one magic bullet. It's more like a whole toolkit of interconnected systems working together. You've got the cognitive architecture, which is like the central processor. Then you've got long-term memory, so they can actually store experiences. Add in generative models, which let them create totally new dialogue and actions on the spot. And to top it all off, you even have emotional models to simulate things like stress or fear. It's the whole package. Okay, so theory is one thing, but what does this actually look like when you put it all together? Let's dive into a couple of really cool research demos that show how these pieces create characters who don't just act, but remember and react.
So, in this one awesome experiment, researchers set up a scenario with 3 totally different AI characters. First, you've got Amelia, a 17-year-old bike messenger. She's scrappy and resourceful. Then there's Cassandra, a 32-year-old former Marine who is courageous and has a strong sense of justice. And finally, Rebecca, a 25-year-old social mediator who's all about empathy and negotiation. Each one has a completely unique backstory and personality.
Now, here's where things get wild. This is their new thought process in action. When they run into a threat, in this case, some gangsters, the AI doesn't just flip a switch to attack mode. No way. First, it observes what's happening. Then it actually asks itself questions based on who it is, like, what would Rebecca do here? Or what skills does Amelia have? Then it dives into its long-term memory for any relevant experiences before, and only then does it make a decision. And the results? They're just incredible. Amelia's memory is triggered. She remembers being robbed before, so she decides to get out of there and call for help. Rebecca taps into her experience as a mediator and tries to talk everyone down to de-escalate. And Cassandra, the former Marine, her memories of combat tell her that self-defense is the only option, so she attacks. You see that? 3 different characters, the exact same situation, and 3 completely different, totally believable actions, all based on who they are. But hey, a believable character isn't just a walking database of memories, right? They also have to feel. And that brings us to another amazing research project that shows exactly how AI is starting to tackle the super complex world of emotions. Check this out. Researchers at Abertay University built what they call stress spots. So when these guys are under pressure in a fight, taking fire, the AI doesn't just calculate the next best move, it actually models a real stress response. You can literally see its facial expression change from calm to angry, and its behavior gets a whole lot more aggressive. It's reacting emotionally. Okay, so this all sounds absolutely incredible, doesn't it? Which leads to the big question. If this tech is so cool, why isn't it in every single game we play? Well, the reality is, taking this from a cool tech demo to a massive commercial game comes with some pretty huge real-world hurdles. And the biggest barrier right now is money, plain and simple. One developer working on this stuff said that running these complex AI models through an API can cost over $1 an hour per player. Now, imagine a game with millions of players. You do the math. The cost becomes astronomical. It's just not sustainable. So developers are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Using cloud services is way too expensive and can be laggy. But running these huge AI models locally on your own PC, that would require some ridiculous hardware. We're talking high-end graphics cards that most people just don't have. And even if you solve all that, you've got a whole new problem. How on earth do you design a game around characters who can do literally anything? It's a game designer's nightmare to try and balance that.
But here's the thing. Even with all those challenges, the industry is absolutely pushing forward. Why? Because everyone knows that the future this tech promises isn't just an improvement. It could completely redefine how we experience virtual worlds.
If you look at where we've been, we came from those simple scripted NPCs. Right now, we're seeing the first baby steps, early examples in big games or in mods for titles like Skyrim. But looking just ahead, we're going to see AI that generates quests and dialogue on its own. And the final destination? Fully autonomous NPCs that actually learn from you and help create a unique story with you every time you play. So, why does any of this matter? What's the end goal? It's all about turning NPCs from just background decoration into a main event. They won't just be wooden signposts giving you quests. They'll be engaging, intelligent partners in your adventure, making these digital worlds finally feel truly, deeply alive. And that leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending question to chew on. As these NPCs get more and more human, as they start to remember us, to react to who we are, to form what feel like genuine bonds, where do we draw the line? At what point does a character stop being just a character and become a companion? Our relationship with them is about to get a whole lot more complex.